Hugo Vlad is finally here in Zenless Zone Zero. Well, kind of. With the recent 1.7 patch, we finally got a taste of what he has to offer via the story gameplay. In this video, we will preview Hugo's kit, his Mindscapes, as well as what his potential free-to-play and meta value could be. Sit back, relax, and let's talk about our Mockingbird husbando, Hugo Vlad. Hugo Vlad is our upcoming S-rank ice attack unit from Mockingbird. His kit features two important concepts. The first key component of Hugo Vlad is the concept of Totalize. Basically, whenever an EX special or ultimate hits a stunned enemy, you can trigger this Totalize effect and do massive damage based on the enemy's remaining stun duration. This really brings up an interesting new kind of gameplay for Hugo Vlad, more based around DPS on that stun meter. The second important concept of Vlad's kit will be this very lengthy core passive, Terminating Verdict. But don't worry, because it's more simple than meets the eye. Firstly, depending on if you have 1 or 2 stun characters in your squad, Hugo's attack will increase by 270 or 810. Now let's break down the rest of it. When Chain Attack Trick of Fate hits an enemy, or Hugo's attack stun an enemy, he'll enter a Dark Abyss reverb state for 6 seconds, ultimately increasing his crit rate by 12% and crit damage by 25%. The rest of this big chunk of text just describes the Totalize effect in more detail. When you hit the finishing move of EX special attack Soul Hunter Punishment or Ultimate Blasphemy while the enemy is stunned, it triggers that Totalize effect, increasing the damage multiplier of the skill's finishing move by 917%. As if that wasn't enough damage, for every second up to 5 seconds of stun time remaining, you will get a 257% skill damage multiplier increased on top of it. And then between 5 and 15 seconds of time remaining, it'll increase by 92% per second. The total increase that can raise the skill's damage multiplier is 3,122%.
That's a lot of damage!
The second half of this text box works pretty similarly to what we've just discussed, but for days instead, up to a 25% of the enemy's days when they recover from stun. Additional ability Prelude to Finality will activate when there's another stun character or ice attribute character in the same squad as Hugo. This by default will increase Chain Attack Trick of Fate's damage by 15% and 50 total % against normal enemies. When Totalize is triggered, the damage dealt by that skill increases by 40%. The EX special attack Soul Hunter Punishment will generate 20 additional energy when triggering Totalize, and that can trigger once every 30 seconds. Overall, we can really see that Hugo's main source of damage and gameplay will totally revolve around Totalize. Let's break down his kit into a little bit more detail, and then we can talk about team synergies as well as his Mindscapes and value as a free-to-play and meta unit. And of course, Hugo Vlad will get his own early access videos right here on the channel, so make sure to subscribe to know when those go live. With the limited combat we have of Hugo Vlad so far, we can see his kit resolves around using basic attack Dark Abyss Quartet and the combos that stem out from it. This will deal 4 attacks forward, dealing physical and ice damage, but what we really want to be concerned with is that 4th attack, which is a shot, or if you hold the basic attack button, a charge shot. And huge points to you if you know what game I'm referencing with that. The second basic attack, Dark Abyss Concerto, activates after the 4th hit of that first basic attack we just mentioned, the shot portion of Dodge Counter Phantasm Slash, or the use of Hugo's Quick Assist. In other words, after you use any of those 3 different kinds of moves, you can go straight into this Dark Abyss Concerto by holding the basic attack button. This will throw Hugo's Scythe in a powerful slash, followed by a shot, dealing ice damage, which you can also hold to be a charge shot, just like the other basic attack. There really isn't anything too spectacular about regular special attack Soul Hunter Judgment, it'll just do some ice damage, although the animation looks pretty cool. EX special attack Soul Hunter Punishment, on the other hand, is pretty important. Note that this is not counted as a heavy attack, but the finishing move of the skill will activate that Totalize. In addition, you can directly follow this move up with that 4th hit of basic attack Dark Abyss Quartet. Something quite different from the other DPS characters is that we actually have to talk about Quick Assist Elegy for Hugo Vlad. This will of course have that shot just like the first basic attack. However, this will also follow up back into that basic attack, just like the EX special does. The same is true about our assist follow-up. You can directly follow it up with the 4th hit of basic attack, Dark Abyss Quartet. Dodge Counter Phantom Slash has the same concept. When your decibel rating is at maximum, aka 3000, you know what time it is. Press Q to activate Hugo Vlad's ultimate blasphemy, throwing the scythe in a powerful spinning attack, launching a finishing move, and dealing powerful, massive ice damage. This skill is not counted as a heavy attack. Oh, and by the way, yeah, this also directly follows up into that 4th hit of basic attack, Dark Abyss Quartet. Now that we can see all of these combos and his general gameplay style, let's talk about some team synergies. Because Hugo is so focused on that Totalize concept, he really wants the enemy to be stunned, so he can get that massive damage spike. This concept, in tandem with his core passive and additional ability, opens up a pretty good amount of teams. The core passive gives him that attack boost of 270 or 810, depending on if you have 1 or 2 stun characters in the squad. An additional ability is a huge damage increase, as well as some energy regen off of his EX special. Considering all of this, we can already see who his best partners are going to be, namely Lighter or Von Lycone. Of course, that also includes Astriel, but she just goes with everybody anyway, since Hugo Vlad will be one of our strongest DPSs in the game and the best ice attack unit. Even though I still love Ellen, anything we can do to buff his damage via Lycone or Lighter's buffs will be paramount for him. Of course, if you don't have Astriel, that also leaves the door open for our hungry little Oni, so Kaku, to join the fray. But of course, I'll be testing all of those teams and more in that early access video, so make sure you don't miss it. What does this all mean for him from a free-to-play and meta value though? Obviously, if you love Hugo Vlad, he's a very cool character and you should definitely pull for him, and particularly in Zenless, any character can clear the content with the right team comps. However, looking at Hugo Vlad from a free-to-play or new player experience, he's a lot more of a specialized team unit, specifically in those ice teams. It might be worthwhile to save up for a more generalized unit if you are brand new to the game or you don't understand quite what the characters do, especially since we got a lot of really cool, strong-looking characters in that 2.0 video. Of course, if you are like me, then you're just gonna try to pull anybody anyway, so rip my wallet in advance. There's also one more factor to consider while pulling for Hugo Vlad. While we did just get the Ellen rerun, we have yet to get Miyabi's rerun. From a meta standpoint, ever since Miyabi released, she is still the strongest agent in the game, unless you consider Astriel's general support capabilities. But the bottom line is, if you want Hugo Vlad, pull for him. Like I said, Zenless Zone Zero strives on being able to clear the content with any characters, as long as you know what you're doing with the right teams. However, for the sake of this video, there is one more thing we have to consider for Hugo Vlad's value: his Mindscapes. Mindscape 1 is a 12% crit rate boost and a 30% crit damage boost when triggering Totalize in that Dark Abyss reverb state. Mindscape 2 features a strong ultimate buff. When you trigger Totalize, it won't end the enemy's stun state, and it will be a 15% defense shred. Mindscape 4 states that after a charge shot hits an enemy, Hugo's attacks against that target will ignore 12% ice resistance for 15 seconds, with repeated triggers resetting the duration. I cannot wait to test out Mindscape 6 in that early access video. All shooting attacks will trigger Dark Abyss Reverb, with repeated triggers resetting the duration of 6 seconds. However, when any skill triggers Totalize, the damage is further increased by 60%. Also, when you trigger Totalize with EX special attack on an enemy that is not stunned, the damage multiplier of that move will be increased by 1000% fixed damage. So much like the other Mindscape 6, it turns him into a walking nuke. But there you have it for a Hugo Vlad first impressions guide video. Let me know what you think about Hugo and Zenless as a whole in the comments below, and I would love to discuss it with you. For now though, like the video if it helped in any way, and subscribe for those early access Hugo Vlad videos coming out soon. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.